welcome to another lecture. So in this video I will talk about strings, go into more details about strings and how you can use them and how you deal with strings and what you can basically do. So let's jump into the first thing, which would be string assignment. So many times you when you write programs, you want to store data in variables. So I talked about variables in a previous video, and so here I just want to show that usually it's quite common that you assign a string to a variable. So that would be called string assignment, which is quite simple. So let's just try to print this out to see what happens. So it's quite simple. We see hello, nothing crazy there. So let's just move on. So if I can also assign it again and print the value again, and then we should see hello. First we should see hello, and then I assign a new string to the same variable, and it should say hello there. So let's try this out. So first it says hello, and then it says hello there, which is what I expected. If we continue, you can also print, or you can also assign a string which has multi-lines, or that it has more than one line. So by using the triple quotes, it could be either double or single. I prefer the double, but it's just a preference thing. So I just print hello there. Let's see what happens if I print this out. You see that it's printed on 2 lines, which is nice. So if we jump to another topic, which is the fact that strings are sequences, this is quite interesting and important to understand, because it means what it means. For example, is that you can loop through them. You can also access different characters of the string, and as I mentioned before, strings are actually a list of characters. It's really interesting or important to understand that a string is actually a sequence of characters. That's what it is, and therefore you can do the things which you could do with other sequences. It's quite interesting to know that. So a character is basically a byte, and it is a Unicode. It's a Unicode character basically. So you could store anything inside of it. It's not just letters; it could be anything basically, which is supported by Unicode. So if I print this out, what should the first print statement be? I would say it should be H, since that's the first, as I mentioned, that the first character is also always has the index of 0, and then the second, or the index 2, would be 0. This is 0, this is 1, and this is 2. So I would assume that it prints out L. And then finally it should print out the length of the string, which would be 5 plus 5 plus 1, right? Since we have a space in the middle, so 11 I would say would be the length. So let's run this and see. So we see that it prints out H, which I expected. It then prints out L. We don't know if it's this one or this actually, but I'm quite sure that it's this one, because it's 0, 1, 2. And then finally it prints out 11, even though it looks like almost like an L as well, but it is 11. So that's good to know. If we continue, so let's look at slicing strings. So sometimes you want to maybe get a substring. That's what it's called in some programming languages. Some people call it slice. That's also a term used in some programming languages. But what it means is that sometimes you want to get or check maybe a part of a string. It's not the complete string, just a part of it, and you can specify which part of the string that you want to actually look at or print out, for example, in our case. So so if we look at this, we see that so it starts at 2, so basically here, and it ends at 10. So I would say that 10, or the index 10, is the last character, because we know that this is the length of 11, so -1, that would be 10. So this would be the last character. But I also mentioned before that when you specify the end of something, or where to stop, it doesn't stop at this one. It actually stops just before it when you slice. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I'm quite sure that it will print out this. let's see. Yeah, so it prints out what I mentioned. It prints out, it starts at 2 and then it ends at not the 10. It won't print out the 10th, the last one, because you mentioned 10. It prints out up to, but not including. That's kind of how I usually remember it. And if I change this to 11, what will happen then? Yeah, then it prints out 11, even though there is nothing at the 11th index, because that is out of bounds, but it will at least print out the end of the string. So let's see. So that slice from the end of a string now. So this is a bit different. So if you provide a negative value, then it will kind of start at. So I guess. So let's look at this. I'm actually trying to learn this at the same time as I'm teaching it. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the 6th character, or the character at the index of 6. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or actually, it is this one. So let's run this. Actually, that's maybe the easiest way to understand what it is. Yes. So it actually runs. So this is the 6th index, or the character of index 6. So it will print out this, and it will go to -1. So -1 would be, I guess, yeah, basically not at the end. So this is kind of reversed. It's good to know that you can do it the other way around, if that's helpful. I haven't come across any use case for that, but it's good to know. So let's look at string checks. So what you can do now is that you can check if a part of a string is, or if a string is a substring of a string, more or less. You can check if these characters exist in this string. So you can, and the syntax for that is using this operator, the in operator. So I say print world in val. So if this substring, or if this string exists or is a substring, if this string is a substring of this string, then this should evaluate to true. And this, I would say will evaluate to true, since we know that it exists there. By should evaluate to false, because it does not exist. But here's an interesting thing. So here I'm using two operators. I'm saying by should not be in val. So since I'm inverting the value, or inverting what this would be using the not operator, this should then evaluate to false, because by is not in val. It actually translates quite good to English, which is one of the nice things with Python. It's quite easy to read. So by not in val, and this should evaluate to true. So I would say true, false, true. Let's run this. Yeah, and the output is true, false, true. So this is true, this is false, and this is true, because it's the opposite of this one, right? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.